Narcissists quietly slip in through the back door of your mind, stealing fragments of your soul, robbing you of your identity, dismantling the very person that you are, until you eventually begin questioning everything, even your own sanity, as they carefully and strategically carve out this new person and make you believe that it's all true.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. And never mind that noise you heard. It's just the beast under your bed, in your closet, in your head. Take my hand. We're off to Neverland.
The way narcissists go about, slowly and subtly, magic erasing the very person that you once were, bit by bit, is what truly makes this insidious abuse so traumatizing. But here's the kicker. It too is from within, the way that they meticulously and covertly dismember every aspect of your life that makes it a whole lot easier for you and everyone else to buy into this notion that narcissists primarily prey on the wounded, naive, vulnerable, or codependent, and that the only reason anyone would not make like mama and throw their own ass off of their crazy-making train is due to their being blind, foolish, naive, or have some kind of emotional attachment issues, which on the surface level, I'll be the first to admit, doesn't seem like such a haste or inappropriate rationale. But this is kind of like that game telephone, you know, the one where everyone sits in a circle and whosever turn it is whispers a message into the person's ear on the left, and then they whisper it to the person on their left, so forth and so on, until it gets all the way around the circle. 9 times out of 10, the last message is completely discombobulated or entirely different than the original wording. Is this same concept that has happened, resulting in these beliefs like narcissists only prey on the weak, then spread like wildfire through social media, which straight out of the gate sets us up for walking into a minefield of misconception booby traps. And when it comes to protecting yourself from one of these deplorable meat sacks, or even manipulation in general, hands down, knowing truly is half the battle. But you see, knowing is only as good as the information obtained to providing us our knowledge. Got me thinking. We use this same concept as the telephone game, but in reverse, with our own little game that I'm going to go ahead and call sorting out the bullshit, breaking down the information, seeing if it aligns with their world view, and or if this information is based off of fact, opinion, or if it is just as full of bullshit that flows off the lips of a narcissist. As for the question today, does codependency, being vulnerable, weak, naive, or blind, make you more susceptible to find yourself aboard their I'm gonna make you cuckoo caboose? Well, let's break it down to find out. So the things that seem to remain constant or consistent about describing narcissistic psychopath individuals include lacks empathy, inflated sense of self-importance and sense of entitlement, has a need for power, control, domination, disregard and disconcern for others, lacking responsibility or accountability for their actions, and has an instrumental way of thinking, viewing others as tools, objects, or resource to fulfill their needs, wants, desires. And because they view others as object, their focus is on utility rather than individuality. Therefore, they wouldn't categorize people or anyone as being vulnerable or strong, as this presupposes that they're making decisions on an emotional judgment about others' traits, which contradict their utilitarian mindset, as well as their belief of being more superior and almighty than all of the Greek gods put together. And their relentless and persistent nature of being willing to take down anyone who dare step in their way or try to challenge them at being dictator over yonder on Never Never Land, and making it so that to them a confident person isn't a daunting challenge, but rather just a different type of object to exploit using a tailored approach, because they legitimately do not give a single fuck about anyone but themselves. Doing this since before they can even remember makes them masters at manipulating, as well as the ability to continue and repeatedly exploiting one from the next to the next, because they know and recognize social norms, how to exploit human tendencies, bias, and the way that certain things such as hopes, dreams, fears affect the way that we behave, giving you a false sense of security and safety so that you'll let down your guard, making it easier for them to gain your trust and then slowly begin breaking you down and turn others against you, so you have no support system on the outside world and become more dependent and reliable on the narcissist. Whether you are confident or what some quote unquote refer to as being a codependent. So now let's address that elephant in the room, to which if you are asked what your understanding or feel codependent is out of A, an emotionally weak, needy, insecure person with a low self-esteem, B, someone who is a people pleaser or puts others' needs ahead of their own due to some unresolved childhood trauma, C, a co-alcoholic who enables the behaviors of a loved one who has an issue with alcohol dependency, or D, none of the above. More likely than not, you probably found it resonated the most with A, B, or D. However, the correct answer is C, as the term codependent was actually coined in 1951 in relation to the significant others or family members of an alcoholic, addressing how their lives too become out of control with obstacles and losses related to the effects of watching their loved one deteriorate, and over time witnessing this deterioration began to have a shift or effect on their behaviors from what once were trying to get their loved one to stop drinking, turning in to becoming more to that of enabling them to continue without even realizing that that is what they were doing, because it was so painful and hard to witness this deterioration on top of the verbal abuse that they often would receive during these moments of withdrawal and or in states of drunkenness that weren't necessarily stemming from them trying to be malicious or dehumanizing, but rather as a result of the alcoholism that, though doesn't justify, excuse, undermine the emotional impact on the one being verbally attacked. Obviously, as the term codependent wouldn't have come about had it not, but that in 1980, like many other misconceptions and misused psychological expressions as a result of the DSM, were conveniently reshaped to fit mainstream vocabulary and evolved into being something to that of a weak, needy, or even emotionally sick individual who has some compulsive attraction towards relationships with others who are emotionally avoidant or emotionally unstable. That now, over 40 years later, has taken on a caricature of its own from what the term was originally coined to describe, and why many therapists no longer will even entertain or use it in a clinical setting, nor is it something that has an official diagnosis, to which, in my opinion, belongs in either the opinion or bullshit bucket, as to it even correlating with narcissistic abuse, but as to it attracting narcissists, or what makes narcissists go after or target you, is not factual or the reason that you were manipulated. But furthermore, whether you are confident, insecure, a people pleaser, or someone who feels that they don't rely on external validation, doesn't matter, nor does it justify or change the fact that abuse is abuse, which is never your fault, nor is it ever okay. You didn't ask for it, you didn't deserve it, and no matter who that person is to you, have no right to bestow abuse upon you. Be that physically, emotionally, sexually, or any other form of it, because abuse is abuse is abuse. And we all have things and areas in our lives that we can improve upon. No question about it. But to blame or claim that what these fuckers did to you was because you were too vulnerable, codependent, or weak is like blaming someone for getting physically abused because they were tough enough or could have handled it. And that right there ain't nothing but bullshit. So fight for you. Save you. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist, or whatever you want to call them.